we are going to talk about all the opportunities available in the audio streaming world, right from radio, the conventional All India radio, to podcasts, voiceovers, online radio, community radio. We will try to cover as much as possible. And towards the end, we will be taking questions. So you are all requested to, join our Facebook page. If you are not part of this, join us live on our YouTube page, and please send in your comments, your questions. We will be happy, delighted to respond to them. As I said, whenever I used to speak to anybody, the general, response has been that, well, during my young age, I have been a casual announcer with the Yuva Vani, Now, this is something very common I used to hear from a lot of people. But is radio a casual job? Is radio just about being a radio jockey? Simran is going to talk about that. What are the other opportunities in All India Radio? And what about the future? We have someone like Subha who is actually doing a lot of podcasting, who is into podcasting in a big way, who is into voiceovers in a big way. You can encash your voice not just to entertain friends at the parties, but also you can laugh your way to the bank if you have got a voice. And believe me, all these practitioners will tell you that your voice can be improved. It is not necessary that you have to be born with a voice. Voice modulation is there. And at UPS, apart from the photography, studio labs, our own radio station that we are setting up, we are also going to have a language. We already have established a language lab where we are going to focus on improving the language skills, overcoming the MTI, the mother tongue influence. These are the aspects that we have looked into. And these are the luminaries who are going to guide you in your career, in shaping your career at UPS. On that note, let me introduce today's panelists. I have with me Ms. Simran Kohli, noted radio jockey, media consultant, and workshop director for radio and podcasts. She is a visiting faculty at MCRC Jamia, IIMC, National School of Drama, and APJ Institute. She is a creative consultant to Radio City. She is a podcast producer independent. She is consultant to the Association of Radio Operators of India, AROI. She is consultant to WHO on media management for health initiatives. She is also associated with UNICEF that she has not mentioned. Well, let me tell you that she presented, created content and produced show elements for the Radio City Breakfast Show, helped the morning show reach second position, report for 5 years in a row from 2009 to 2014. That's how RJ Simran became a household name. At least I used to hear her almost every day. Then she became the national creative head and morning show host for Red FM, Delhi. She was programming head for Radio Mirchi in New Delhi. And she launched her own Asia's first full-time private radio training academy for radio professionals. And she has authored Understanding Radio, the Radio Jockey Handbook, which demystifies the role of an effective radio jockey. She also set up campus radio stations in Tihar, which is Asia's largest jail. And she's a product of Jamia Millia Islamia. And she is an esteemed member of the Board of Studies of the School of Modern Media, UPS. Now that's a feather in the cap for us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be.
May I now
Very nice knowing you, Simran Kohli.
Nice knowing you also, ma'am. Wonderful.
Am I audible?
For the kind words. Yes, yes, you're audible.
You are.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Now, may I now introduce Shahina Khan. Miss Shahina Khan is a well-known face, well-known voice in the world of radio. Shahina ji, again, has been associated with many institutions. She's an independent professor for communication and broadcast journalism. She is a writer, poet with more than 40 years of experience in media profession, stage anchoring, master of ceremonies, and creative writing. She teaches at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Sayaji Rao University, Baroda, Amity University, Manav Rachna University. Again, even during pandemic, she has held several classes. Webtalks for SEMCA and SNDT Women's University. She has delivered lectures at Harvard Radio, and she has traveled extensively in 19 countries, including, she has visited broadcast houses like British Broadcasting Corporation, Voice of America. She has worked as a communication expert at Oxford College for further education. She has worked at different levels, including as program executive and additional director of programs at All India. And of course, she was an associate professor at Indian Institute of Mass Communication. She has won so many awards, and she is guest faculty at several institutions, and she has addressed so many national and international conferences. Today, just in talking about her. And last but not least,
thank you so much for this.
We have with us Subhash Shankar Chatterjee. He is a man of few words. So when a brief profile, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Thank you. So when I requested him, Subha is an independent media professional, acclaimed voiceover artist of over 2,000 commercials and documentaries, entrepreneur, certified leadership coach, artist and academician. He was also the group editor, special projects, group editor with National Herald, special features at Times Television Network. He has a rich experience of 20 years in media and is now fully devoted to creation of original content through his own podcast. Thank you, Subha, for joining us.
Very nice knowing you, Subha.
Thank you, thank you. Nice to meet both of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is my voice audible? I somehow feel that there is a disconnect.
You are audible, but in between it's just disappearing for a split second or something. But by and large, you're audible.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you are audible, but I think that there could be a connectivity issue.
Am I audible?
Yes.
You are.
I don't know. I'm unable to see your videos.
But we can see you.
Okay.
I can see all 4 videos.
Yes, same
Okay,
here.
okay. Thank you. Now, let's begin today's session now after this introductory, of all the leading luminaries who are present here. Let me start with you. I would request you to speak for about 5 minutes on the topic given, and then we will start the, the interaction, and thereafter the Q&A. Professor Shahina Khan, radio is not just about being a casual announcer, All India Radio. There are a lot of jobs related to journalism, which are available. The radio, the RNUs are there, the radio newsreel. I mean, you just name it. What are the opportunities available in All India Radio for media students?
Thank you, Professor K.G. Suresh, for having me on this platform of UPES School of Modern Media Studies, and our co-panelists, Ms. Simran Kohli and Mr. Subha. So it's an honor to be here, and thanks again for the wonderful introduction you gave. And I believe, and I've been told that this is particularly for the student level. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So obviously, careers in audio streaming platforms, and as you just told me that I need to talk about careers, possibilities in All India Radio.
Yes.
A lot
you can confine yourself to All India Radio.
Yes, I'll confine myself to All India Radio because my esteemed co-panelists would talk about RJing and podcasting and other things. So confining myself to All India Radio, and I, as you said, that I have worked with All India Radio for 22 years. I'm a professor for communication and broadcasting for the past 16 years. And in fact, I must mention that I was born to a broadcaster. So broadcasting is in my blood. And right from the word, go, it was only broadcasting for me. And first of all, to the students, I must say hello again to everybody. And in this briefly that I'll talk for 4 or 5 minutes, I request the students or whoever wants may jot down some questions to be asked later on. But cursory, I'll start with, yes, it is not just being or a voice on All India Radio or any audio streaming platform. Confining again to All India Radio, there are two parts of it now at the moment. Traditional All India Radio broadcasts and India Radio programs. So traditional, I'll just tell what all roles are available for media students, and these are like producers, production assistants, radio jockeys, script writers, researchers, reporters, stringers. All this is available. Other than because radio is just not voice. A lot has to be done for that voice to come. And then same, we have engineering side, sound engineers, music producers, then editors, transmission executives, and broadcast engineers. All these roles are available for media students. Okay, so the part 2 of what I said, web also, All India Radio is also broadcasting on, it's online radio. But same things, but when it comes online, then the additional roles that we have very specific, computer operators, then we have marketing assistants, then there is another role which is very important, audience cooperation or coordinators of audience. That's important because obviously when you are producing something, you're talking about something, most important thing is the target. Whom we are talking to, whom we are taking the information, the dissemination of information through radio waves.
Shahina, All India Radio is the only radio platform allowed to broadcast its own news. In fact, there has been great demand for allowing news in the private sector also.
Absolutely.
But what are the roles available in the news segment?
See, in the news segment, I was just continuing with that only. In the news segment, since streaming has also started, we moved from terrestrial, we were earlier doing only terrestrial broadcasting, and then through satellite. Now we are obviously, we've gone digital, and there is online radio. So the new roles that are there, which I just enumerated, that there are people who are needed for operating the computer, people having internet knowledge. Fine. So those roles are very specific, and All India Radio is recruiting people like audience coordinators and marketing assistants and marketing executives, sound media executives, okay, added to the earlier roles that I hinted upon.
What about correspondents, news editors and all that?
Yes, I'm coming to that only. But added to that is, I have already mentioned stringers and correspondents and reporters, because when we generate news, we have to have reporters, where the news is generated. For dissemination, we have to collect the news. Fine. So though all those traditional roles added with these roles, but what I'm trying to reach at quickly in these 4-5 minutes that you're given me is that in all audio career platforms, there is content generation. Okay, we have to generate content, be it on traditional All India Radio, through satellite, through terrestrial, or through internet. So content generation, there are a lot of opportunities for media students. So these opportunities are, you have to, when you do a program, other than just collecting an OB program or collecting an event, when we produce programs on topics, we need to first do some script. And for scripting, we need research. And after that, again, recording and producing and post-production and marketing, all these jobs are available for media students. But what I want to point out here is, before I go further to other radio stations, is that basic training is very important. We can pick up each and every role that I just enumerated. Training for that, supposing you are a reporter, how to go and cover an event. Very briefly, for 30 seconds maybe I can talk about a reporter. When a reporter is briefed that such and such place, say in Vigyan Bhavan, there is an event where the President of India is giving out awards. Now, for the reporter, one doesn't just land there. You got to have writing skills. You got to know the background. You have to collect the information about the event all in advance. And all this requires a lot of training, a lot of skills, and then you go and you cover the event. So and then I can go into formats a little later when I get more time, because others need to speak also. And what I mean to say that training institutions like in Institute of Mass Communication or Jamia, or for that matter UPES, which is coming up with so many courses now, are very important. One shouldn't think that, okay, fine, I'm a journalist, I know a language and I can sit and write, or it is not there. That I'll elaborate.
So you need training in the skills. You need to
is very important. And other radio stations also, which I can elaborate a little later after my co-panelists speak, is community radio, where there is a lot of scope.
Sure.
And then
those who want to work in the development sector, they can actually, have the satisfaction of working in the development sector for a cause, and at the same time be a radio,
Exactly. In fact, just one line about community radio, that like the democracy, it is of the people, by the people, for the people, community radio.
Absolutely.
And then we have campus radio. Students could, I am teaching in so many campus radios also, as you just mentioned. I can talk about it a little later.
Sure, we will be coming to those issues.
And then 2 little more points is language skills are very important for anybody to be in any communication media, but especially in audio streaming platform. And voice culture, voice modulation, presentation, all that is very important, which I can elaborate a little later.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Shaina ji. Now, we are all familiar, good morning, Mumbai. So, Vidya Balan has made RJ's job so popular. And, there are so many RJs who have become sensations in Delhi also, from RJ Ronak to RJ Malishka in Mumbai with her videos on Mumbai, on the port halls. So, radio jockeys have become celebrities in their own way. And of course, we have the first among the celebrities, Simran Kohli, who is with us. But Simran, what I want to know is that a lot of people are certainly attracted to the job of an RJ in an FM station.
Yeah.
And yes, even All India Radio has got its own FM station. FM Gold is there. I've been fortunate to be on all those platforms. But what I want to know, Simran, is that is RJ the only job? And what exactly, are the other jobs that are available in private radio stations.
Okay.
You have worked with, you have set up so many private stations.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me here, and it's a pleasure to be interacting with you and with everybody else. Now, in order to answer your question, I'm going to make a comparison. When we watch a film, any film is known by the actors, the hero, the heroines, the people who are the face of the film industry. An uninitiated person would feel that films are all about the actors. And I think आज से 15-20 साल पहले तक जब एक्टर एक्ट्रेसेस स्क्रीन पर गाया करते थे, तो हम में से बहुत कम लोगों को ये पता होता था कि ये प्लेबैक सिंगिंग है, गाना कोई और गा रहा है, एक्टिंग कोई और कर रहा है. अच्छा, ऑल्सो पीछे जो गाना गा रहे होते थे प्लेबैक सिंगर्स, बहुत हम में से बहुत सारे लोगों को उनकी शक्लें नहीं पता होती थी, वो व्हाट आर दे ऑल अबाउट हमें नहीं पता होता था. बट आज की डेट में द प्लेबैक सिंगर्स आर एज पॉपुलर एज द एक्टर्स. ओके, दैट्स वेयर द एनालॉजी स्टॉप्स. जैसे सिनेमा में सिर्फ एक्टर एक्ट्रेस ही नहीं होते हैं, उसी प्रकार एक रेडियो स्टेशन में भी सिर्फ रेडियो जॉकी ही नहीं होते हैं. A radio jockey is the face of the radio station, and whatever the radio jockey says is actually the work that happens in the radio station. Having said that, आपके producers हैं, copywriters हैं, programmers हैं, sound editors हैं, content managers हैं, PR managers हैं, sales है, marketing है. So एक typical radio station में, जैसे अगर मैं दिल्ली की बात करूं, रेडियो सिटी की बात करूं, तो हमारी जो वर्कफोर्स है दैट इज अराउंड 90 to 110, 120 पीपल, जिसमें से प्रोग्रामिंग का जो हिस्सा है वो मुश्किल से 15 लोग हैं. 15 के अलावा बाकी जितने भी लोग हैं उनका काम है उस शो को ऑन एयर करना. तो मेरे ख्याल से नाउ दैट वी हैव बिकम सो मीडिया savvy, इट इज बट नेचुरल दैट वी अंडरस्टैंड दैट अ रेडियो स्टेशन डज नॉट रन विद जस्ट द वॉइस. तो अभी अगर जैसे हम लोग ये लाइव वेबिनार कर रहे हैं, अगर इसका मुझे एक रेडियो प्रोग्राम बनाना है, तो बीइंग अ रेडियो जॉकी अलोन आई कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग. आई नीड अ साउंड एडिटर हु विल मेबी मेक अ प्रमोशन ऑफ दिस वेबिनार, जिसमें हम ये बताएंगे कि इसमें होगा क्या. I will need a script writer. I will also write the scripts. There are certain myths which we will debunk later on. I will need a producer who will decide कि ये कौन से वक्त में किसके लिए है. तो स्टूडेंट्स किस वक्त ट्यून इन करेंगे रेडियो स्टेशन में. आप कभी भी कुछ भी प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं कर सकते. जैसे सुबह अगर आप रेडियो सुनते हैं तो एक प्रकार की प्रोग्रामिंग होती है, 11 से 2 इट्स डिफरेंट, 2 to 5 इट्स डिफरेंट. हु डिसाइड्स कब कौन सा प्रोग्राम जाए होगा. एंड इट इज अ हाईली स्पेशलाइज्ड साइंस नाउ. जैसे प्रोफेसर सुरेश ने अभी शुरुआत की थी कि कैजुअल अनाउंसिंग है कि नहीं है. सो आई वांट टू शेयर समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. मैंने 1995 में MA ज्वाइन किया, मास कम्युनिकेशन जामिया. आई केम फ्रॉम लखनऊ, और तभी से मैंने रेडियो शुरू कर दिया था. जब मैंने MA पास कर लिया तो लोग मुझसे पूछते थे आप क्या करती हैं, तो मैं कहती थी मैं रेडियो जॉकी हूँ. तो लोग मुझसे कहते थे नहीं वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन काम क्या करती हैं. So people had this mentality कि रेडियो तो पास टाइम है. लेकिन आज की डेट में भी I have a lot of acquaintances, friends के बच्चे हैं, वो मुझे फोन करके कहते हैं कि भाई बेटी तो मेरी IIT की तैयारी कर रही है, इंजीनियरिंग की तैयारी कर रही है, लेकिन अभी उसके पास वक्त है, बोलती अच्छा है, कविताएं लिखती है, and she has time. किसी रेडियो स्टेशन में भेज दो इसे कोई शो करने के लिए. मतलब सुबह शो करके घर पर आ जाएगी, फिर अपनी तैयारी करेगी. So I want to tell you that this is old stone age, this kind of radio that some people still feel. The new stone age radio is one of the 8 jobs. जैसे IT revolution हुआ था एक समय में, जैसे computers आए थे, emails नई आई थी, उसी प्रकार रेडियो has been undergoing that revolution. और क्यों रेडियो के बारे में लोगों को, रेडियो या ऑडियो के बारे में लोगों को इतनी जानकारी इसलिए नहीं है because radio is just a baby. अभी तो पैदा हुआ है 2008 में, and when I say radio अभी पैदा हुआ है, I mean private radio. Otherwise radio has been there for ages. तो मैं अक्सर जब मैं क्लासेस करती हूँ तो आज तो मैं अपनी क्लास में, मेरा एक फेवरेट सवाल है जो मैं सब बच्चों से पूछती हूँ और आज तक मुझे कोई भी जवाब नहीं दे पाया. मैं आपसे वही सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ. मेरा सवाल ये है कि दुनिया का सबसे पहला रेडियो जॉकी कौन था? Now we are not going to waste too much time here, and I'm getting this opportunity to show off, so I'm going to give the answer also. पूरे दुनिया का, वर्ल्ड का सबसे पहला रेडियो जॉकी संजय था. कौन है संजय?
महाभारत वाले.
तो आंखों देखा हाल जिसे कहते हैं, कमेंट्री, द फर्स्ट एवर रिकॉर्डेड एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ रेडियो इन प्ले इज संजय. तो संजय ने लाइव कमेंट्री दी थी और पूरे वॉर का आंखों देखा हाल बताया. तो मैं ये कहती हूँ कि जो रेडियो महाभारत के जमाने से चलता चला आ रहा है, that radio is going to be there till I don't know, till whatever time that we are there, because audio is something that cannot be replaced. A lot of the media has become defunct. एक जमाना था हम कैसेट्स यूज करते थे, वो नहीं यूज करते हैं. कैमरा अलग से यूज करते थे रोजमर्रा की फोटो खींचने के लिए, वो नहीं यूज करते हैं. So a lot of the people give me a counter argument कि जब ये चीजें defunct हो गई हैं तो why not radio? Now my counter question is that we've been talking about this since the 1940s, 1950s. जब टेलीविजन आया तो हमने कहा अब रेडियो खत्म हो जाएगा. फिर उसके बाद केबल टेलीविजन आया, फिर हमने कहा रेडियो खत्म हो जाएगा. फिर म्यूजिक स्ट्रीमिंग आ गई, हमने कहा रेडियो खत्म हो जाएगा. प्राइवेट एफएम आ गया, उसके बाद हमें लगा कि अब न्यूज नहीं अलाउ कर रहे हैं, रेडियो खत्म हो जाएगा. लेकिन अब रेडियो के नए नए रूप, नए नए आकार आते जा रहे हैं. I just want to tell all the students who are listening to us right now, just as you would treat an engineering and IIT career or an advertising career, please start treating radio like that, because that's where radio has reached. The fact that you are not able to do that, or maybe you don't have so much information about it, is the reason why you are not able to see the advantages there. So coming back to the initial question कि रेडियो में और कौन-कौन से जॉब्स हैं, किसी भी जगह पर, एक यूनिवर्सिटी में कौन-कौन से जॉब्स होते हैं, एक फिल्म प्रोडक्शन कंपनी में कौन-कौन से जॉब्स होते हैं, एक एडवर्टाइजिंग इंडस्ट्री में कौन-कौन से जॉब्स होते हैं, वो सारे जॉब्स एक रेडियो स्टेशन में हैं. अ रेडियो जॉकी इज ओनली 5% ऑफ दैट जॉब. तो अगर बॉलीवुड को आज हम लोग कहते हैं वर्ल्ड की सबसे बड़ी इंडस्ट्री है, उसका कितना परसेंटेज एक्टर्स हैं? एंड व्हेन आई से एक्टर्स आई मीन सुपरस्टार्स एंड स्टार्स. कितना परसेंटेज है? द रेस्ट एक्चुअली द मनी, द मैक्सिमम अमाउंट ऑफ मनी एंड एडवांटेज lies with the people who create those actors.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Thank you, Simran, for those very valuable insights. You know, RJ is just the face of it. I mean, whereas you have many jobs. So radio is not something to be taken casually. And the future is indeed bright, and that's what we are going to talk about. I have with me today Subha Shankar Chatterjee. He comes with, as I've told you, decades of experience in media, and he is an active podcaster himself. He's a voiceover artist. So today there are also a lot of careers with regard to voiceover artists. About audio advertising is a big area. You know, radio jingles that you listen to, and podcasts today on tourism, podcast on mythology, podcast on spirituality, you name it. And they are becoming, in fact, the latest statistics say that there's a 32% decline, according to Bark rates, in FM stations, because people are not traveling because during the lockdown. But today, that has been replaced to a great extent, not by any other platform, but by podcasts. And there are audio books, you know, people would love to listen to that. I mean, the area is so vast. So being a practitioner yourself, can you take us on a journey, Mr. Chatterjee, beyond All India Radio and FM radio in the audio streaming world?
Thank you, Professor Suresh, and big thanks to my fellow panelists for this wonderful discussion and this opportunity. You know, I'll just go back to where I began. So just to give you a background, I was purely a television person. And I worked with two of the largest networks in the country at the senior most levels before I called it quits last year. So what was the choice that I was exploring as my alternate career? One of the things that really fascinated me was creating original content. So original content can be in various forms in different platforms. But 7 or 8 years back, I started cultivating this habit of doing voiceovers. It was a habit before it became a profession. I started with small TV commercials and small radio commercials. I would do it as an amateur. And then slowly, I kind of redefined my relationship with the microphone. And it comes with time and practice. And I'll tell you how to do it also. What I realized was I was not talking to myself anymore. I was talking to a larger audience, to a larger universe. So what I was essentially doing was telling my story or telling somebody else's story and spreading it around in the larger universe where I am heard or where I'm telling a story. So what I discovered was a very different storyteller from what I was in television. In television also, I was telling stories. So whether it was news, whether it was production of episodes on business or politics or whatever I was doing, or creating new content for television channels, I was a storyteller. Here also, I'm telling stories. Either I'm telling somebody else's stories, or in a podcast, I'm telling my story. I think the first very important ingredient, or the first very, very essential ingredient that you should have with you is passion. Without passion and without the dream of conquering the world and, aspiring to be an icon yourself, there is nothing that will give you the impetus to go on. First, you have to identify what is it that you want to do. Now, audio, as like Simran and Shahina ma'am just said, it's a huge, huge universe. So right from radio jockeys to content production to different genres of program that you have, right from sports to entertainment. I think radio covers everything. But beyond radio resides a personality, which is you. Now, what podcast has done is it has democratized content. Radio makes you listen what it chooses to. It has its own matrix. It has its own processes. It will do its market research. It will figure out what is the kind of programming that would be consumed by listeners and audiences. But here, you are at the center. You are creating the content and you're throwing it out in the universe for people to grab it, for people to consume it, for people to listen to you. That energy comes from conviction. Why would people listen to you? Either the content is very interesting, you're doing something very innovative, you are inspiring people, you're telling stories which is changing their lives in some way or the other, you're giving information which is helping them. So either it is in the space of health, it is in the space of parenting, whatever. It is giving information to people that they can use. So in a way, while you're doing a podcast, do keep 2 or 3 things in mind. One is, what is it that you're very passionate about? Which is that subject that would keep you going with your podcast? Now, the trend is that many podcasters podcast because it is a trend. But the successful podcasters who also make money out of podcasts are people who are very passionate about their craft. If you have the conviction to reach out to the audiences and strike a relationship with them, so you have to establish a relationship with your audiences. If you're able to do that, that's a long-lasting relationship. Now, I'll tell you why you need to do that. Look at all the aggregators who are operating in the internet/digital space, right? From a Uber to a Zomato to a Swiggy to any aggregator. What are they looking for? They're looking at numbers, right? They're looking at people who would come to them. They're looking at millions of people who would download their apps. Similarly, for a podcast, you're looking at hundreds and thousands of people to listen to your podcast. Why? Because that's the only way advertisers will come. Advertisers only pay where there is a substantial size of audience. So in a way, if you are like, I'll go back to my, to conviction. If you are full of conviction, if you are very confident about what you are doing and it shows in your podcast, you will garner that kind of audience. People will subscribe to you, and that in effect will translate into a business model. So it is not just about your passion. It is not just about the content. It is also about making money out of it. So when we talk about a career out of podcasting, this is what we mean. Now, look at what's happening around us. Look at us as a, as a community. Look at Indians as all of us as listeners or communicators. You will find that we are natural speakers. So if you go to Calcutta, I mean, I come from that part of the country. If you go to Calcutta, you will find that people sit with a cup of tea for hours discussing politics, sports, Bollywood, music, everything. They know almost everything about everything. In effect, what they're doing is telling stories. Because they're talking all the time, and because we talk all the time, we are all gregarious. We all love to be social. Because we love to be social, because we love to have people around you, because we love to communicate, we love to talk, instinctively, we feel that we should reach out to audiences. Now, podcast gives you that opportunity. Alexa, Amazon Alexa now has 1 lakh skills, 100,000 skills. One platform has 100,000 skills. Apple Podcast has 500,000 listeners at any given point in time. At any given point in time. That's the huge universe of audience that we are talking about. Google Podcast, again, more than 600,000 listeners at any given point in time. Exponential growth in the podcast universe at this point. It's just blowing up. 60% growth year on year. If I compare the data of last year to this year, exponential rise, 60% growth in listeners. Now, what are podcasters doing? They're essentially telling a very interesting story. So first, figure out what is your story. Have the conviction to tell that story with a lot of passion, with a lot of commitment, with a lot of energy, and stick with it. The general rule is when you start a podcast, you do it over a period of time, because aggregating audiences and getting them on board takes a bit of time. It doesn't happen immediately. You have to also realize that today is the age of content creators and content curators. It is no longer a one-way communication. It is no longer what television or radio gives you, right? It's no longer one-way communication. You decide what you want to.
Subha, if you can also briefly talk about, because we will be coming to specifics.
Yeah.
Also about audio advertisements,
Yeah, I will come to that. So here what you need to understand essentially is that if you have a story, if you are passionate about that story, and if you are doing it with a lot of conviction, you will strike it well in the podcast market. Now, there are several platforms which are there. I would like to tell you about that. There's Hubhopper in India, which does really well. You could use Apple Podcast. You can use Google Podcast. There's Spotify, which does very well. Among the Indian companies, Ghana is a very nice podcast platform to host. There are aggregators like Hubhopper who would stream your podcast on all these platforms. So all you have to do is you have to have a nice setup where you can record. You have to have a nice subject to talk about. And like I said, keep going with it. Don't leave it in between just because you're not getting audiences. It takes time. So have the patience to be with it over a period of time. Now, coming to audio advertising, now there are 2 or 3 ways it works. One, it is done by independent production houses and studios who are commissioned advertising commercials by agencies. Now, what are agencies? Agencies work with companies or brands who create a creative or a jingle or an audio, maybe a audio advertising. They go to the studio, work with a production house or the studio, create that jingle or create that advertisement, and then they air it on radio channels. The second way it happens is a studio independently does it and then airs it. The third is, people like me, for example, I'm an independent voiceover artist. So somebody comes to me directly and tells me, would you like to give a voiceover for a commercial for my brand? And I would say yes. So I would just give the voiceover, and they in turn, the agency would in turn create an audio jingle out of it with the help of musicians or with the help of sound studios, and they would create an advertising spot. So what are the roles which are there? The roles are very clear. If you're working with a sound studio, you could work as a sound engineer. If you're working with an advertising agency, you could work as a creative person writing the jingle. You could work as somebody who is producing it from a production house perspective. So there are plenty of roles which are there for advertising in radio and for jingles and for radio advertising.
Thank you, Subha. On that note, now let's go to Simran. Simran, one of the queries that we often get from students is that, how to become a good radio jockey? What are the qualities required to be a good radio jockey?
This is a very relevant question. And before I start answering it, again, a misconception that many people have in order to become a good radio jockey is, आवाज़ बहुत अच्छी है, मैं लोगों को बहुत entertain करती हूँ या करता हूँ, I am the life of the party, I speak very well, and
so I'm good looking, I can be a television anchor.
Correct. I'm 6 feet 3 inches and I can be a Bollywood superstar. But
yes.
With Nawazuddin Siddiqui becoming as popular as the biggest Bollywood superstar, every mold is being broken. जो भी पहले लगता था. Things are becoming difficult and things are becoming easy. So let me just demystify this question and explain it to you. कि अगर अच्छा, और एक और सवाल जो मुझसे पूछा जाता है कि मेरी आवाज बहुत अच्छी है तो मैं कितना अच्छा रेडियो जॉकी बनूंगा, मुझे पहले कितने पैसे मिलेंगे अगर मैं किसी भी रेडियो स्टेशन को ज्वाइन करता हूँ. तो पहला जवाब मेरा यही होता है दैट इन ऑर्डर टू बिकम अ गुड रेडियो जॉकी योर वॉइस हैज गॉट नथिंग टू डू विद इट. आप गाना नहीं गा रहे हैं, आपको लता मंगेशकर या आशा भोसले नहीं बनना है, बट वो वाले फॉर्मेट्स भी ब्रेक डाउन हो रहे हैं बिकॉज वी हैव सच डिफरेंट टिम्बर एंड टेनर ऑफ वॉइस क्वालिटी. अलग अलग आवाजें आ रही है मार्केट में, तो अब कोई डिफाइंड फ्रेमवर्क नहीं है कि अगर ऐसी आवाज होगी तो आप अच्छे रेडियो जॉकी बनेंगे, ऐसी होगी तो नहीं बनेंगे. आवाज अच्छी नहीं है तो आई जस्ट वांट टू शेयर अ पर्सनल फैक्ट. पर्सनल फैक्ट ये है कि जब तक मैं बीए में थी, मैंने लखनऊ से अपना स्कूलिंग किया है, ग्रेजुएशन किया, फ्रॉम आईटी कॉलेज लोरेटो से मैंने पढ़ाई की. आप यकीन नहीं करेंगे, जब तक मैंने बीए पास नहीं किया था मुझे यही पता था कि मेरी आवाज बहुत खराब है. सब लोग कहते थे आदमियों जैसी आवाज है तुम्हारी, लड़कियों वाली कोई बात नहीं है तुम्हारी आवाज में. क्योंकि मैं जिस जमाने की बात कर रही हूँ तो मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बोल के सुनाती हूँ. हेलो, मैं जिस जमाने की बात कर रही हूँ, आपको पता है वहां कैसी आवाजें हुआ करती थी, वहां ऐसी आवाजें हुआ करती थी. And then suddenly you have this voice on radio and then this voice is saying कि क्या आपको लगता है मेरी आवाज अच्छी नहीं है. So nobody knows it better than me कि आवाज has got nothing to do with it, but what you do with your voice is what matters. Now that's a trick question. क्योंकि what you do with your voice could be mimicry, it could be dialogue bazi, it could be anything. Again, what you do with your voice is what you have prepared yourself to do. तो आपने कितनी तैयारी की है, आपने कैसे स्क्रिप्ट लिखी है, आपने कैसे अपनी न्यूज चूज की है, आप किस बारे में क्या कहना चाहते हैं, आपका अपना ओपिनियन कितना है, आपके रेडियो स्टेशन का ओपिनियन कितना है. How are you making the listener engage with you? Because the beauty of radio, why radio will never die, is because radio is like my best friend. जब तक दुनिया है, जब तक इंसान है, तब तक हर किसी का कोई ना कोई एक बेस्ट फ्रेंड होगा. इट इज अ वेरी वेरी पर्सनल मीडियम. और जब हम रेडियो स्टेशन में ट्रेनिंग शुरू करते हैं तो पहली बात हमें यही बताई जाती है कि यू आर टॉकिंग टू ओनली वन पर्सन. तो हे यू, एवरीवन आउट देयर, ऑल ऑफ यू, कभी भी आप नहीं कहेंगे और लिसनर्स कैसे हैं आप. This is like murder on a radio station. The first lesson that we are given is learn to talk to one person. Because जब तक आप वो कला में माहिर नहीं होते हैं तो how will you talk to one person? Now there are tricks of the trade. How will you write a script in such a way that the person who's listening to you, usko lage ye mere liye hi bana hai, ye she or he is talking to me. That is why people develop a bond, and that is why, like what Subha just said, I agree with you, ki agar aap passionate honge, it will be easy for you to connect with the people. It is not a master of all and jack of none. You need to be very clear. So let's say, suppose I'm very, very passionate about Bharatnatyam. मुझे Bharatnatyam बहुत पसंद है और मैं एक podcast करना चाहती हूँ on the beauty of Bharatnatyam. I'm telling you, आप अगर दिल से वो podcast कर रहे हैं, तो even those who don't know Bharatnatyam will listen to you and feel you are talking to them. So the point is that in order to be a good radio jockey, the voice is incidental. वो तो आप उससे आप पैदा हुए हैं. अब आप उसका करेंगे क्या? How are you going to convey ideas, messages? It's again, I'll come back to the same metaphor of cinema. तो एक कहानी एक स्क्रिप्ट राइटर सोचता है, उसको पर्दे पे उतारने के लिए कितनी सारी चीजें लगती हैं. सेकेंडली, एक सवाल जिसका जवाब आज तक कोई नहीं ढूंढ पाया है, वो ये है कि एक पिक्चर को हिट किसने बनाया. एक्टर ने बनाया, अच्छी एक्टिंग ने बनाया, सिनेमेटोग्राफी, फोटोग्राफी, स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग, इट वाज अ कंप्लीट एफर्ट. तो एक जो रेडियो जॉकी होता है, दैट इज अ कंप्लीट एफर्ट ऑफ द रेडियो स्टेशन, एंड व्हाटएवर यू हियर ऑन एयर is the work of the producer, sound engineer, promo producer, your programming head, your marketing, your sales, your PR. अगर आप लकी हुए और आपको बहुत अच्छे ऐसे लोग मिल गए, very good, even then you will have to put in 50% of your own effort. तो अब बताइए आवाज कहाँ है यहाँ पर? Where does the voice figure?
Thank you. I think that has answered many questions. Shaina ji, along with this, because you have also been teaching for long, how important is an educational qualification in media to be a successful radio person? Is it that anybody can become a radio person? The skill sets are also important. How you study, where you study, the facilities that you have, that actually, because now it's a cutthroat competition. You are, competing with the best. People coming from the best of, maybe हमारे आपके टाइम पर शायद इतने मीडिया स्कूल्स नहीं हुआ करते थे जितना आज है. Today there are rankings, the India Today best media schools, Outlook, media schools. I mean, you have lists and rankings and all that. But now it has become very competitive. So how important is an education, a course, a degree, a diploma in media for a somebody aspiring for a career in media, in radio?
Thank you, Professor K.G. Suresh. You raised a very, very important and a very valid question. Be it podcasting, be it RJing, be it producing programs, be it news or doing music, whatever. When you want to be on audio streaming platform, any platform that requires a certain kind of training, as Simran Kohli just touched upon a few points, I'll elaborate. See, I started teaching communication and broadcasting way back in 1984 at the Oxford College for Further Education. And Alhamdulillah, I'm still going strong, and you have just told the students where all I teach. What I mean to say is that nowhere, when we started, like I started some 45 years back, when we started, then there were no trainers. That's why I just mentioned that I was born to a broadcaster. My voice, my vocabulary, my language was honed by my father, and he was an ace broadcaster. Everybody knows Mr. Rifat Sarosh, a name to reckon with in broadcasting. So that's how I got interested in that. And in our times when we started, there was somebody or the other who was just trying to inculcate, if we have the interest, inculcate. Coming to the present time, and training is important, because when I joined All India Radio way back in 1989, it was more of an on-the-job training. And since I had a background already, we used to go to staff training institute and just get trained. There were institutions like an Institute of Mass Communication and Jamia already there. But now, as you talked about all these institutions mushrooming up everywhere, I don't want to name any. I am myself been teaching in about 10, 12 of them. The thing is that it's now a streamlined process, and as Simran and Mr. Chatterjee have already pointed out, that we've come a long way. We've come a long, long way for audio communication to be very, very important part of everything. I won't elaborate because they've touched it, and I'm sure they'll be talking more about it. Training is important because when I go into a class, say on a post-graduation level, and I'm trying to address the students who will come after, who are higher secondary level and graduation level, as you just told me, how you will do it has to be inculcated. You know the language, but how much to talk, how to write, the language has to be communicative yet simple. At audio platform, language has to be simple because our target is a bigger audience. And that is the advantage of radio. That's the advantage of radio, that a lot of people who are, and especially in the context of our country, even if you're not educated, you can benefit from radio. Simple language will go a long way. Then pronunciation, presentation, as Simran said, what voice we have, we are born with it. Cultivation of your voice, that's important. I do a lot of that in my classes because training is important, voice culture is important, quality you cannot change, but how to present, and then clarity of your presentation, what you're presenting. Because there's no point if we, even on this webinar that we are doing, if all of us are not clear in what we are saying, if you're not presenting it in simple language, very less people will be benefiting from it. And then delivery, how you deliver, how you do your presentation, that's one part. And then knowing the language is very important. Communicative language, direct speech. A lot of people don't even realize that. They start speaking in indirect speeches, which is, sometimes it is, it comes as if, you are trying to display that you know very high class language. In communication media, in audio media, that is not required. We are not creating literature. हमें लोगों के पास जाके उनको जो हमारे पास information है वो
the idea is to express and not to impress.
Not to impress. Idea is to express, not to impress. Impression बनाने के लिए हम literature create नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम communicate कर रहे हैं. और यहाँ पर मैं आपने training की बात की, तो मैं यहाँ जरूर mention करना चाहती हूँ कि इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मास कम्युनिकेशन में मैंने 2003 में एज एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर फॉर रेडियो जर्नलिज्म ज्वाइन किया, और तब तक मैं ऑल इंडिया रेडियो में काम करती थी. तो वहाँ हमने 2 साल में अपना रेडियो बना के खड़ा किया. तो जाहिर सी बात है, we started.
And I would like to add, Shaina ji, that even at UPS, audio is going to be an integral part. We have got our own studio. We have got our own language laboratory.
Yes, I'm
helping students to overcome that. And we are going to have, all these eminent personalities who are today with us on this panel. They are all going to spend valuable time with the students at the UPS School of Modern Media.
Yes, and then I want to also, because I acquainted myself with UPS, and then I was very impressed. You have this state-of-art audio recording and production lab.
Absolutely.
And then you have,
absolutely.
You also have very nice things for the students. As a professor, I was very impressed that you have a 4-week study abroad program.
Yes.
Which will really help, because as you mentioned in my introduction, I started actually teaching communication skills in Oxford way back in 84, 85.
Yes.
And I've just come back in January from Harvard. They have a campus.
Thank you. I'm sure, your insights are going to really help our future students.
Certainly. And then I like the idea of your 50% scholarship that you're giving for PG courses. And with partnership with institutes in UK,
absolutely.
USA,
Canada. And 25% for all girls students.
All girls, especially.
Yeah.
Very nice.
As part of our, initiative to empower girls students. Yes.
And the Coursera courses that you are offering for free also,
absolutely.
About 4,000 odd courses.
Absolutely.
So what I'm trying to say, I'm going back to what I was saying, was that radio is not about just going to the microphone and talking.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, what is radio? In fact, through my classes, you'll be surprised that throughout my classes, when we start, we're like 50% people are interested in radio. But then by the end, about 99.9% people. And then I still am in touch with all my students who are in various channels also. So going back to the language, presentation skills, very important, and also production skills.
Yes.
Production
Thank you, Shainaji. Now, I would now request Shubha. Shubha, audio streaming platforms, audio voiceover artists are laughing their way to the banks. I know you have started laughing. Now, can you tell us that, whether it is, the podcast that you talked about, and I would be coming to Simran also on the podcast part because she is also a podcaster. And also voiceover artists, radio jingles, radio drama, audio books. How to ready yourself for the industry to be a successful voiceover artist?
So, there's a saying in the voiceover industry that you don't find voiceovers, voiceovers find you. So I think it all boils down to that core idea of how passionate are you about your craft. If you're really passionate about your craft, like Simran said, the voice really doesn't matter. I have seen hundreds of voice artists who are doing brilliantly in their professional career, who are fantastic storytellers. They don't have a voice. It's not as if you have to speak like this all the time. This era is gone. The era of a heavy baritone voice is no longer celebrated. Yes, I mean, there are certain requirements of advertising and of a commercial or of a documentary which require this kind of a voiceover. But voiceover has also...
Not everyone needs to be an Amitabh Bachchan or a Kabir Bedi.
Not really. It has become far more modern. It has become far more contemporary. There's been a tectonic shift in voiceovers. There are people who are experimenting with form, content. Now you also have, I recently worked on a original project with Amazon Audible. Look at where the avenues are. As a voiceover artist, and if you know some content, you can also create your original product for a platform like Amazon Audible or for Storytel or many other audiobook companies who are looking for original content. Similarly for podcast is being commissioned by podcast platforms who are willing to pay you money if your podcast becomes popular. So the avenues are multiple. Do remember that there's a role of technology as well. Now, because you have this vision of setting up a state-of-the-art audio studio at UPS, let me tell the students or the participants who have joined this webinar that technology also has a substantial role to play in voiceovers. My voiceover can only take me that far if I am not supported by technology. So a good sound engineer, like Simran said, the anchor or the RJ is only 5% of the entire workflow or the entire process. Similarly, the sound engineer also has a huge role in curating your content so that it becomes eminently consumable. So people are going to consume your content if you deliver it in a way which interests them. So the music has to be good, your highs and lows have to be good, the processing of your audio has to be good, the microphone that you use, that is also very important. There's also a sound card that you use, there's an amplifier that you use, lots of things. The software is very important. Which software are you recording on is also important. So you also need to know the technology part of it while you're a voiceover. Now, coming to the point of whether voiceover artists are making money, yes, they are making money because voiceover artists are not found in every nook and corner. You cultivate that habit. Not many people are able to cultivate that habit despite having a very nice timbre and a very baritone voice. Not all are voiceover artists. You have to cultivate it. You have to practice it. You have to be passionate about it. You have to listen to what other voiceover artists are doing. You have to talk to them. You have to mingle with them and understand how they're doing it. So if you think that you are going to be a voiceover artist, it's a fantastic profession. I'll tell you why it's a fantastic profession, because you don't carry anything home. You read the script, you take your paycheck, you go home, and you are very, very
The
relaxed.
same holds true for audiobooks also?
Same holds true for audiobooks. Again, there are ways of reading an audiobook. If it's a book on history, you will read it differently. If it's a book on sports or an autobiography, you will read it differently. If it's a poem, you will read it differently. So how do you address different genres of voiceovers is something that you need to cultivate over a period of time.
Absolutely.
Practice makes you perfect. The amount of time that you spend in your riyaz or in your practice will determine how good a voiceover artist you are. And also be open and very humble, because you have to learn what others are doing. If you think that you've reached a certain level because you're being asked to do voiceovers, you will only go that far. So to go to the next level, you need to listen.
Absolutely. It's practice that will make you perfect. Thank you, Subha, for that very important insight. Simran, you are also an independent podcaster. So we have been confining the questions so far to RJ and private FM stations to you. But if you can share your experience for the benefit of the students about podcasting. I thought you also had some slides to share.
Okay, so I just want to tell about how the market is changing where podcast is concerned, because we all have concentrated till now on the software required to make it in the world of audio streaming. And I'm sure there are many students amongst us who must be wondering, where are all these jobs? Where do I get a job? Where do I go? Who is doing? Which company is doing? Because अभी भी जब colleges में हम जाते हैं तो पहला सवाल यही होता है कि रेडियो में क्या हो रहा है. So I have some statistics here. HT Media, we all know HT Media. Newspaper के लिए मशहूर हैं, अपने radio stations के लिए. Fever is an HT Media offering. HT Media ने अभी 3 महीने पहले they've launched something called the HT Smartcast platform, which is only podcasting. Now imagine, and I feel that what the big corporate houses do is some kind of indication of where the market is going. So if somebody like HT, Hindustan Times, is putting their money in a podcasting platform, there must be something more to it than just us experts talking and telling you that no, something is happening. Absolutely. Now, ये जो HT Smartcast platform है, इसके 5 million से ज़्यादा downloads हो चुके हैं इनके programs के in the last 3 months. Now, what is the kind of programming they are doing? एक तो ये अपने programs बना रहे हैं. So Sonal Kalra is an editor and she does the HT City part. उनका एक show है called Tension Not, which has had huge downloads. Then they also have Crazy for Kishore, which is being presented by Amit, his son, and they have tied up with Big FM and Radio City. So what is happening is inter-industry integration. So
that's very interesting.
Right, so in ये जो इंटर इंडस्ट्री इंटीग्रेशन है, दिस मीन्स कि आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि मैंने बिग एफएम में फोन किया और वो कह रहे हैं हमारे पास जॉब्स नहीं है. मैंने हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स में फोन किया और उन्होंने कहा मेरे पास जॉब्स नहीं है. नाउ जॉब्स के लिए यू विल हैव टू गेट रेडी टू क्रिएट अ रेडियो प्रोग्राम which will be broadcast on Big FM, which will be very different from a podcast which maybe Hindustan Times might want to put on its platform. Then we have spoken about Spotify. Now Spotify is a Swedish company. 2006 में launch हुई थी. India में Spotify नहीं आया था. Spotify was everywhere in the universe. It's a music streaming app. Spotify just entered the Indian market in December 2019 with a dedicated original content podcast platform. Now, somebody like Spotify, which is a global leader in music streaming, is putting its money in podcasts. Now, that in itself is, it answers a lot of questions. Then, of course, Ghana has their own podcast. And like Mr. Chatterjee just said, Audible, there is an Audible के बारे में सुना था. Audible was the largest audiobooks company. एक छोटी सी company शुरू हुई थी, which was bought over by Amazon for God knows how many crores of rupees. अब Amazon ने उसको Audible सुनो बना दिया है. December 2019 में launch हुआ था. Now, if a global world leader like Amazon is launching a dedicated podcast platform, what does that mean? That means this
Absolutely.
is where the future
Absolutely.
lies. Okay. So now, because you should have something to support also what you're saying. अभी तक जितने भी students हैं उन्होंने बस सुना होगा कि हम लोग कह रहे हैं jobs हैं, jobs हैं, jobs हैं. तो I quickly put something together. I have a presentation. जिसमें
Quickly, if you can.
I have a presentation which only says कि कहाँ पर कितने jobs हैं podcast से related.
Great, great.
So I'm going to share screen. Can all of you see it? Wait. Yeah, you can see it. 1 second. I just want to go to slideshow. Okay, so we go to slideshow, start. Podcast jobs, careers in audio streaming. Okay, so here I have 1,446 jobs. जो मैंने ये generally निकाले हैं. There's a site called Simply Hired. इसमें आपका है podcast editor, audio innovation studio, team producer, team product manager. Okay, 1,446 jobs, and these are the current listings. Spotify. I have been talking about Spotify. Spotify is definitely looking for programmers. इनके job की title है podcast programmer India. और आपको करना क्या होगा? आपको content curate करना है. आपको markets identify करने हैं. कहाँ पर क्या चीज चलेगा वो decide करना है. And this is all audio that I'm talking about. 89 podcast job, times job, podcast creator, weekly freelancing jobs. These are jobs जो आप घर से कर सकते हैं. These are jobs जो आप बाहर रहकर कर सकते हैं. Starting from 20,000 going up to 1.5 lakhs. 89 podcast jobs. 173 podcast jobs naukri.com पर अगर आप जाएंगे. Position आपकी होगी Associate Digital Marketing Strategy. Now you have to understand that the more comfortable you are with online, the more comfortable you. नीचे देखिए, public relation journalist, senior journalist. Have you ever heard of a job like that? Now we have a public relations, PR journalist, senior journalist for podcast. 3,386 podcast jobs, monster.com. ये आप अपने आप ढूंढ लीजिएगा. मेरे पास इतना समय नहीं था कि मैं सारी आपको बता सकूं. But there is something called production supervisor. Then there is an opening for leading biscuit manufacturing company. 3,386 jobs. Latest which I'm talking about. So, कहने का मतलब ये हुआ कि the time that I got and the things that I've gotten together, the industry leaders, the global leaders are turning towards audio because audio is more personal. Audio सस्ता है. Audio में आपको ज़्यादा मेहनत नहीं करनी.
Simran, you are motivating me to launch an exclusive program only for podcasting. Because the whole batch will be taken away by one company itself.
So actually it has become a game changer. मैं यही बातें पिछले 2-2.5 सालों से कह रही हूँ. But December 2019 के बाद और अब lockdown के बाद, the tables have suddenly turned because you have a Spotify and an Amazon leading the way. And of course, Ghana and HT were already there. And these are things happening in India. Forget about what's happening abroad. इसके लिए आपको एक और webinar करना पड़ेगा जिसमें मैं आपको I have case studies where some amazing things have happened where podcasts happen.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you for those very valuable value addition to the entire thing.
And to add to what Simran has just said, Professor Suresh.
Yes.
Last 3 months, ever since the lockdown began,
Yes.
I worked on 3 original content ideas and produced them. One for Amazon Audible, one for Ghana, and the third one for Spotify. The one that I produced on Amazon Audible was a show on business, where we looked at how new age entrepreneurs can start new businesses in this changing world reality. The second one was purely my kind of podcast, which was on meditation and mindfulness and all of that. And the third one was with the youth on how they can look at different ways of reinventing themselves when they're in a crisis. So lots of things, like Simran said, are happening in the audio space. It's a very, very vibrant, extremely promising platform to be in.
Absolutely.
We're looking at great opportunities.
Thank you so much. Now, Professor Shaina Khan, that brings me to the last question from my side, and then we will go to the students. We are, going live on both Facebook and also on our YouTube handles. Please join us and ask as many questions as possible, because now we are going to, after one more question from my side, we are going to the Q&A sessions. So, Professor Shaina Khan, there is a curiosity. Very briefly, please tell the students the difference between a campus radio, a community radio, an online radio, or a web radio, or internet radio, as you call it. If you can tell this difference to the students.
Okay, fine. I'll be very brief, and I am so glad that so many points that I wanted to make have already been made by my co-panelists. So that makes my job a little easier. Very specifically, because I can see we have, it's 3:15 p.m. already.
Yes,
so,
yes.
So I'll be very, very brief, just one minute. See, community radio station, as I hinted in the beginning only, it is a radio station which is run by, and it is in the community. So it has to be community specific, and as we all know it, community radio has a radius, broadcast radius of about 5 to 6 kilometers, because the power of the transmitter and the transmission tower is limited. So that much we can do, which means that it serves that particular community where it is stationed. So it doesn't have to go global, it doesn't have to go national, it has to be confined to that community, and everything which is connected to that community or everything about that community can be communicated. Okay, and as you had hinted, All India
Campus
Radio,
radio.
only one. Yeah, coming to that, All India Radio is the only one which is allowed to broadcast news. So in community radio, we have no commercials, no news. Very brief. Coming to campus radio, it's very close to community radio, but the difference is the power of the transmitter and transmitting tower and all that is confined to that much only. But the difference is that since it is a campus radio run by an institution, so the money and all the infrastructure is bought by the institution. Whereas in community radio, the infrastructure and everything has to be bought by that particular community. So, there's not much time to elaborate, because I'm associated with community radio movement right from 2004 when we have the first Anna radio. And I have helped a lot of other institutions to establish, and I still go and help them.
And an internet radio, or a web radio.
Yes. Internet radio is like, webcasting. We cast on the web, and that is radio. But for that, unfortunately, there's not enough time. The content generation has to be there. And for the students, I hope somebody asked me that question, because content has to be generated for web radio, for community radio, for campus radio, for commercial radio, for public service broadcasting. Yes, but there has to be dealt differently. I wish you have a seminar on that, and then I would be able to tell. So the online radio is an digital audio service, and whatever content we are broadcasting on a regular traditional All India radio can be streamed on that. There is no bar on that, but still, in any broadcast, target is important. So we have to see that this online radio that we are doing is associated with which area, and then because it is global, anybody can just go online and listen to that. So again, the content on broadcast will be different. It is a digital format. I think I could be more brief than this.
Thank you, Shaina ji. But for paucity of time, I would have even in fact requested all of you to share even your podcasts, your broadcasts with the students. It would have been a great experience.
I was also looking forward to talking about content generation and language and presentation skills.
Absolutely.
So I wish you have another.
Absolutely. Let's hope some question in that regard comes. Now I'm coming straight to the question, because there is a paucity of time. Soham Kannao is asking, after final year, can we do this course? Yes. If you're doing a UG program, join our Masters in Journalism and Mass Communication, MJMC. There certainly we are going to teach you this, component in MJMC. You are most welcome. Parul Khanijo, hello, ma'am, how can we make our career in RJ? Please tell. Simran, RJ.
Parul is asking this question.
Parul, yes.
Okay. Parul, देखिए RJ if you want to become an RJ, it's not important that you have any mass communication degree first of all. But if you do, and especially going through the courses, Professor Suresh, that you have at UPS, you get a lot of practical hands-on training which helps you. Now, how to get the job is like how do you get any other job in the world? You try and find out which radio stations are working in your area. Now, the one difficult thing about media jobs is, especially radio jobs, is that they are not advertised like you would see a lot of other jobs. So there is more proactive work which you will have to do on your own. What I tell most of my students is that once you understand how to write your own script, once you know your voice, once you know what you want to do in a radio station, it's very important to understand what is the strength. Do you want to be a producer, as in do you want to create programs for a radio station? Do you want to be a radio jockey? Whatever you want to do, prepare a show reel. Show reel का मतलब है अगर आपको radio jockey बनना है, if you want to be a radio jockey, record yourself at home, write a script, do on whichever topic you think is interesting, record it. A good way to do it is listen to the radio station that plays in your area. So for example, if you like Red FM, you like any RJ who's doing a particular kind of show and you want to do a similar show, write your own script, record, call up the radio station, say I want to come and share my show reel, or you can just mail it to them. Then you can go and meet them. If they don't take your call, then just go to the radio station, because radio stations are very, very open to new talent. I'm telling you, because I've worked with literally all the radio stations. So one is go directly. The other is, of course, there are many colleges who have on-campus interviews and job placements. So most of the radio stations go through campuses. So if you have done your mass communication from a good place, it will help.
Thank you, Simran.
I'm sorry, I can't help adding that I started as a radio jockey way back in 1976 when I was studying at Lady Shri Ram College. So, yes. So,
okay. Now, this is for Shubha.
Yeah.
This is from Vikram Singh Rajput. Career of script writing is it long-term? Can it be freelance also?
Okay, so interesting question. Depends on your location clearly. So if you are in Bombay, you could be a full-time script writer. But the scope of being a script writer in Delhi, if you're working in a radio channel, Simran would be a better person to talk about it. Maybe she could elucidate on this. You have to clearly define what kind of scripts are you writing. Are you writing a script for a radio jingle? Are you writing a script for a television series? There are various ways of looking at scripts. Podcasts too need scripts. So first you have to define which genre of communication are you going to be in, so that you clearly know what kind of scripts to write. If you don't want to be typecasted, you can straddle all the genres and write for everybody. It requires some training, but you have to cultivate it as well. Like any other craft, I think you have to read a lot, you have to understand your subject, you have to know the art of storytelling, practice writing interesting scripts, read interesting scripts. You can do it freelance, you can do it full-time, depending on who employs you. So for example, one of the things that I keep hearing all the time is that there are professional script writers who write 10 scripts a day for television serials in Bombay. So they create episodes on the go. Radio, Simran again can throw some light on that. Advertising, beautiful scripts are written. Advertising scripts are written by copywriters. So depends on which area of craft you want to focus on.
Sure. Thank you, Shubha. Because we have a lot of questions and I want to accommodate, and we just have 10 to 15 minutes left. Abdul Sami is asking that he has done his graduation in BSc Bio. He says he has control over his words, voice and tone. Please guide me how to be a radio jockey. Abdul, we would certainly encourage you to join the MJMC program and skill yourself. But still, Simran has already told you how to go about it, what all qualities you need. And if you think you have, record your voice and send it to different radio stations. Wish you all the best. Now there is a question to Professor Shaina Khan. This is from Dr. Anwar Khan from Bhopal. Dr. Anwar Khan is asking, what will be the future of community radio after COVID-19? Shaina ji, please be brief so that we need to
be very brief. That's a very, very vital question. In fact, I did a webinar for SEMCA on community radio in context of COVID-19 only. Mr. Khan, the role of community radio is even greater now during COVID and post-COVID, because the community is directly affected by this, like anybody else all over the world. And especially when we have smaller communities and communities which are not very well acquainted or very well lettered and educated. So community radio station comes in a very big way to inform how to sort of contain it, how to all the precautions that we need to take, how to take care of your family, even if you are wanting to, you have to get out for work and whatever, everything else that has to be done, we all know, so I won't repeat due to paucity of time. The community radio station role is important, like it plays an important role in health sector, in education sector for that community.
Absolutely. Thank you. Simran, there is a question from Ankita Mishra. She is asking, when I record my voice in the gadget, my voice changes and it is different from my real voice. What should I do?
Okay, so every voice changes whenever you are recording in a microphone. That is why you must have heard there are some very expensive microphones and there are some very cheap microphones. So why do we invest so much in microphones? अगर मेरी आवाज जैसी है वैसी है तो मैं 2 लाख का माइक्रोफोन जो मुझे 5,000 में मिल रहा है वो क्यों नहीं लूंगी? Because when the voice is going through a microphone, the voice is changing and it is being differentiated for broadcast. तो आप जो कह रहे हो कि गैजेट में जाता है तो कौन सा गैजेट है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप एक आईफोन पे रिकॉर्ड करोगे तो वॉइस की क्वालिटी बहुत डिफरेंट होगी कंपेयर टू लेट्स से नोकिया, एंड आई एम सॉरी आई एम टेकिंग नेम्स, आई माइट साउंड बायस्ड टुवर्ड्स एन आईफोन, बट कहने का मतलब ये कि अगर आपका महंगा स्मार्टफोन है आप उसमें आवाज रिकॉर्ड करेंगे, उसका माइक्रोफोन मच बेटर होगा. इट इज जस्ट लाइक वीडियो कि आप अगर एक बहुत ही लो क्वालिटी के फोन से अपनी फोटो खींचोगे और एक बहुत अच्छे स्मार्टफोन से फोटो खींचोगे तो आप कहोगे यहाँ तो मैं सुंदर लग रही हूँ, यहाँ सुंदर नहीं लग रही हूँ. It is exactly the same about the voice. The voice undergoes a certain change.
Absolutely.
When it passes through a microphone.
Absolutely. Lovely comparison.
The microphone, just one more thing, try and change the location because voice bounces off walls. तो आप कहाँ पर हैं? आप शीशे के पास हैं, आप दीवार के पास हैं. आपके लिए बेस्ट होगा अपने घर में अलग-अलग जगह पे रिकॉर्ड करके देखिए कहाँ पे आपकी आवाज आपको सबसे अच्छी.
जैसे फोटो में लाइट की जरूरत होती है उसी तरीके से.
Correct.
And one sentence I want to add for the person who questioned, that the acoustic energy is converted into electrical energy by a microphone. That is why what Simran is saying, that the quality of the microphone and the acoustics is very important.
Is very
Absolutely.
important. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for adding that.
Parul, well, you are saying that we are all professional. How can we learn or join your institute because we live in a small city? Most of our students come from small cities only, Parul, and you can come to a very beautiful city by the name Dehradun, and we have hostel facilities also available there. So make it your second home and be with us for a couple of years. You will become a professional. Now we have... does this course teach you content writing or blogging? Yes, certainly. I mean, that's an integral part of media, advertising and public relation. We have to teach digital media. We will be teaching you all this. Certainly, please visit our website, go to Upes School of Modern Media, and certainly, we will be delighted to share our thoughts with you. There is a, yes, because Subha also wanted Simran to talk about it. This is from Simmerleen Kaur, and she is asking how to create a script if we don't know content and history. Simran?
You can't.
I talked about research.
Okay, so similarly, script writing जो होता है, if you go through the, अगर UPS का भी आप course sheet देखोगे, तो script writing and writing skills is a very very important part, and they are very good at it, at teaching you. Script writing is a science. So as long as you're waiting to get into UPS, till then maybe you can search on Google how to write a good script. But I'll make it shorter for you. A good script is something that you know about. So if I want to write a script about what do I like to do when in my free time, what kind of films I like to watch, what kind of books I like to read, it will be very easy for me to write that script, and it will be very interesting for people to know it. It will be engaging. But suppose I want you to write a script on the new normal post COVID-19. अगर आपको इसके ऊपर एक स्क्रिप्ट लिखनी है, then you'll first have to figure out what is it that you want to talk about, what is going to be your viewpoint, and then you do a huge amount of research. You remember how we used to write essays when we were in school? मैं school की बात इसलिए कर रही हूँ because that is when we realized researching for the first time. Now I have a daughter, she is in class 11, and I'm teaching her how to research. So she had a topic about the new normal post COVID-19, a class 11 student, and she said, how do I write an article? She has to write an article for 300 words. I told her, I said, research, but before that, you first find out what you want to talk about. What is that one area? Because it's huge, the new normal post COVID-19. So she decided to do it from the point of view of a 15-year-old. What does the new normal mean for a 15-year-old? I will not be able to celebrate my birthday in a mall. I will not be able to go out with my friends. Okay, if I have to stay in the house, how will I stay out of the way of my parents? How do I ignore my mother? She's becoming a problem for me now. She's becoming a liability for me now. So for me, the new normal would be what to do. So I'm just telling you. So she decided to go on that track. So you first decide what is it that you want to focus upon, then research. Try and find out what is the percentage of people feeling like that. What are the new developments in that area, and then put it down together.
I wish I could take as many questions because a lot of people are asking personal questions also, like how did you manage studies and work and all that. I wish this was a free-wheeling discussion, but we are right now only taking questions, specific questions related to the subjects we have discussed. Neha, what is the future of regional languages in podcast and radio industry in India? This is a question from Neha Subha.
So I just want to say one thing, Subha, sorry for interfering here, but I was talking about Spotify because I'm a big Spotify fan in terms of their business operations. Spotify is planning to expand in India, and they want to create content in local languages, which is again huge. Till now it was English or Hindi, but Spotify realizes that India is not just about English and Hindi. India is about thousands of other languages, and they want to expand. So that answers a part of that question. So
I think, you have hit the nail on the head. It's the future is regional. Yeah. Every single company, every single content company is investing in regional markets simply because the audiences there are huge, humongous, and the consumption of content in those markets is also humongous. So a lot of experiments are also happening so don't underestimate the power of regional media at all. It's extremely powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact,
Shubha, I want to add that regional media in Indian context is more important because in working in colloquial language reaches to the masses, and that's what we are wanting to also do as narrowcasting.
Also, Professor Suresh, just to give a personal anecdote, today I speak Bengali. I do more Bengali voiceovers than I do English or Hindi. And that is coming not only from India, that's coming from Bangladesh, that's coming from the US, that's coming from UK. So regional languages are not only celebrated in India, but by regional communities abroad as well, because they want to connect. There's a deep sense of connecting to their roots. So when you do that, regional takes a very, very different texture.
Absolutely. Thank you. There is a question. Good afternoon. I am a musician. I wish to do a course in mass communication because I want to study the subject from a broad perspective. I'm interested in content creation, audio and visual production. podcast. Welcome. You are the most suitable candidate for UPS. Please come join the School of Modern Media, and all these masters are going to take master classes there. Now, there is a question, and that is from maybe Shahina. You can answer this. BBC has stopped radio, but BBC has not stopped its radio. But I don't know why. Maybe some language platforms.
Their Hindi service from Delhi.
Okay. Akashvani also stopped some of its platform. Government is controlling media, controlling radio. Can we young people get career opportunity in digital radio platforms? Mahendra Kumar.
Okay. Number one, it is correct. A few channels of All India Radio have been stopped, like the national channel, and which is very unfortunate. But there is a big problem there. You know, there was a time, I'll take a couple of minutes answering this question. There was a time when All India Radio was the only radio broadcasting channel in India, talking strictly in Indian context, but and there was no competition. So there was you know, I don't want to even deliver how they were talking and doing all that, starting from my childhood. Anyway, with the new players coming, with private radio coming, with better content, I'm sorry, because I have to be fair, with better content, reachability to the target is more efficient. So all that is becoming more efficient to a certain extent. It pains me to make this comment, but All India Radio is receding in the background, and there are not many players who want to actually, you know, retrieve it also. So with all that background, this is a very frank talk. So with all that background, All India Radio is receding. I mean, a national channel which was so talked about when it was started, going away. BBC Hindi channel going away. Simply means that there are better players who are doing better job. The private, the commercial, even the community radio, campus radio is doing very well. So that's the reason.
I think, Professor Suresh, just to add, it's a circle of life.
Absolutely.
Everything that once been has to be a has been. So
absolutely,
it is not as if you have to believe in the permanence of impermanence.
Also, complacency is never required. Yeah. The moment you become complacent, then the decline comes.
Yeah. Also, I think you need to reinvent yourself. You need to, so if this is working today, it is not necessary that it will work forever. You have to figure out what are the trends. So that's where, you know, Simran has focused on the current trends on podcasting. And it's a brilliant piece that she has brought out, simply because you need to be cognizant of what are the trends in your industry. If you ride on that trend, you will have a successful career. But if you feel that I'm very good where I am very, very comfortably placed where I am, then you are playing with your future.
In 2 words, you cannot rest on your laurels, but to keep working.
Yeah.
So in order to add to that, Professor Shahina, हमें हमेशा कहा जाता है, और आपने भी ये सुना होगा, that you are only as good as your last link. You're only as good as your last link. So you can't feel that just because I'm a good radio jockey, अब बस मैं laid back हो जाऊं. Again, it applies to all performing arts, all media industries. You cannot afford to get complacent. And I just want to say here that instead of worrying about कि national channel क्यों बंद हुआ और BBC Hindi क्यों बंद हुआ है, you have to look at the bigger picture. So have we stopped listening to audio? वो खत्म नहीं हुआ है ना. आज से कई साल पहले हमारे पास वॉकमैन्स हुआ करते थे, हम उसमें गाने भर के हम सुना करते थे, हम कैसेट सुना करते थे. आज वो वॉकमैन नहीं है, वो कैसेट नहीं है, लेकिन गाने हम अभी भी सुन रहे हैं. हमने मोबाइल्स पर गाने डाउनलोड कर लिए हैं. तो यू हैव टू गो विथ व्हाट द हैबिट इज, और उस हैबिट को मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी के जरिए आप कैसे पूरा कर रहे हैं. बीबीसी हिंदी सर्विस बंद हुआ है, लेकिन आपको पता है कि बीबीसी ने एक नया पॉडकास्ट लॉन्च किया विच इज कॉल्ड दुनिया जहान. बीबीसी इज फोरोइंग इनटू पॉडकास्ट मार्केट्स. दे स्टार्टेड अ पॉडकास्ट विद काल्की कोलचन, जो कि अब अपने सेकंड सीजन में है. सो इवन बीबीसी इज आल्सो रियलाइजिंग दैट audio is changing its form. So don't worry about what is closing down. Start getting concerned and curious about what is coming in its place. That is where the future lies.
It is very interesting that even podcasts, some of the most successful podcasts, they are coming from places like Bhopal, Indore,
Correct.
from Ranchi, places which are not like Delhi, which don't have the infrastructure of a place like Delhi, or that doesn't have fancy studios like they have in Delhi. Doesn't really matter. Like I said, if you're passionate about what you're doing, you will succeed anywhere, from anywhere.
Where there is a will, there is a way.
Of course.
And again, going back to that I was so good. I mean, I can't going personal, I can't rest on that laurel that, oh, I've been broadcasting for 40 years, 45 years.
Absolutely.
So I have to
In fact, there is a Facebook message which has come from renowned Assamese film director, Mr. Utpal Datta, who has said, Shahina ji, basic requirement for a broadcaster should be commitment, knowledge, updated information, and intelligence.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
And Professor Dilip Kumar says creativity. Yes. So a lot of inputs coming on the Facebook pages too. I was going through them. N number of questions. Questions are still pouring in. I wish I could take all the questions. We will have another 3-hour session just to answer. But that shows that how relevant a discussion we have had, how significant it was for the students and the large number of participants on across platforms who joined us. And it has been a really wonderful interaction. We discussed almost about everything from All India Radio to FM radio station to online to voiceover to audio books, podcasts. There is no aspect of audio streaming which we left, but then it is such a huge canvas that 1.5 hours is peanuts, literally, to discuss such an important topics. But nevertheless, thank you so much, each one of you, Shubha Shankar Chatterjee, for sparing your valuable time. Simran Kohli, again, I know you had examinations at Jamia today, but still you made it a point to join us. Professor Shaina Khan, always a pleasure having you on my programs, wherever you have been, wherever in all the institutes that I have worked with earlier also. Thank you so much. And dear students, participants, look forward to having some of you certainly, joining us. And these, veterans, these industry stalwarts are going to guide you if you really aspire for a career in audio streaming platforms. And thanks to the team at UPS, Siddharth, Simranjeet, and our social media team who actually promoted this event in a big way. Thank you to all the friends who have joined on Facebook, on YouTube, and made it a grand success, I'm sure. And those of you, I saw some questions related to television anchoring also. Please visit our website and YouTube channel. See our earlier discussions on television anchoring and reporting. You will get an idea. And certainly, UPS offers you not just the best of the courses, the best of facilities and infrastructure, but also an ambience in the foothills of the Himalayas, and where you can see the mountains, you can study at peace, and you can really enjoy being a scholar, and in the company of such stalwarts. Thank you on that note. Thank you once again, esteemed panelists, for sparing your valuable time. It was a really wonderful interaction. Thank you all, and look forward to, please watch this space for more interesting interactions on various aspects of media. Thank you and namaskar. Thank you.
And thanks for having all of us. Great meeting you, Simran Kohli. Great meeting you, Shubha Chatterjee.
Same here.
KG Suresh, and the whole team of UPS. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Also, parting words from me, Professor Suresh. I have seen many institutes, many universities which are offering media courses, but the vision that you have is so comprehensive and so contemporary. Hardly anybody talks about audio. Audio is at the periphery. But the way you built it up, the way you have envisioned this, hats off to how you have imagined this. And I'm sure this is going to be a great success.
Thank you. And without your support, this is not possible.
Okay, I just want to say one thing, that hearing you talk and going through your website and seeing what UPS is doing, I want to do my MA all over again. Can I?
So you can be both a teacher and a student.
No, I want to study.
That's a great idea.
Maybe Suresh, you couldn't get better compliments than what Ms. Kohli and Mr.
Thank you
Chatterjee.
so much.
And I second everything that they say.
Consider my request. Okay,
Thank you.
consider my request.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you once again. Bye-bye. Take care and stay safe. Stay at home. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.